Hey guys, Laura Whitmore with STP. I've been a test prep instructor for 16 years now. I super score a 1570 on the SAT, and I've already coached many students on the brand new digital SAT to increase their scores by 100 or 200 points or more. And I'm so excited for this video today because I am going to basically give you guys a comprehensive guide to the digital SAT English sections. I know a lot of you are just starting out on your test prep journey and you might not even know much about the digital SAT at all, so you are in the right place. Even if you've been prepping for this test for a while, I'm going to give you very useful strategies in this video, so you're definitely going to get something out of it. All right, before we get into the content of this video is brought to you by Preptly, the digital SAT prep app that's available in the App Store and in Google Play. You can prep on the go from your mobile device or an iPad, so you don't have to be tied down to a computer doing full tests every time you want to practice. Preptly is awesome because it has hundreds of questions for both the English and the math that are just like those that you'd see on Blue Book. But they're exclusive and they're new, guys, so if you need more questions to prep from, definitely go to Preptly. We just added new questions in the other day for the logically completes the text category, and we're constantly updating the app. We also have a really exciting launch coming. So when you're watching this video, it may or may not have happened yet, but we are introducing a new digital SAT AI tutor to the app named 𝗙𝗿𝗲𝗲. So you can use 𝗙𝗿𝗲𝗲 to quiz you or to answer your questions, and you can basically have your own little tutor in your pocket. So go ahead and check that out in the App Store or Google Play, especially if you're looking for more resources to prep from. Preptly is definitely where it's at. Okay guys, I'm going to go over a few things that you need to know for the digital SAT English sections in order to be successful. I'm going to talk about the layout, I'm going to talk about the types of answer choices that you're going to get, and then I'm going to give you some general strategies for the English sections. Now, if you've watched my previous videos, this is all updated information for the 2023-2024 school year, so this will definitely be helpful to you and you're going to learn some new things today. Okay, first you definitely need to know the layout of the English sections in order to do well. So there are 4 categories to the digital SAT English sections: craft and structure, information and ideas, standard English conventions, and expression of ideas. And the way that I just said them, that is the order that you will see them in when you get to your test. So for instance, words and context questions are craft and structure questions, and those are the first types of questions you'll hit when you get to the English module. So it's really important to understand your strengths and weaknesses. If you already have a digital SAT score report because you've sat for a test, you should really go through and see how many bars are highlighted for each category, because you're gonna wanna know your strengths and weaknesses. If you know your strengths and weaknesses, then you can actually start with your strengths. So for instance, let's say that your highest score or category was standard English conventions, and you have all the bars filled in for that. That would mean that it'd probably be best for you when you get to the English module to jump right to number 15 and start with the standard English conventions. So definitely start with whatever your strength is. Okay, so I know I just mentioned how words and context are craft and structure questions. Other craft and structure questions are main purpose of text questions, comparative questions where you have a text 1 and text 2, and also function of an underlined sentence question. Now, it's important to note, you guys, that main purpose of text is different than main idea of text. So a main purpose of text question, you're basically trying to answer the why. It's why did the author write this text? Maybe it's because they're trying to convince you of an argument or they're trying to disprove a theory. But the purpose is the why. The main idea of a text is the actual argument. So maybe they're arguing that the automobile is hurting the environment. That would be the main idea of the text. So just understand that there's a difference between those, because moving to the next category, The information ideas category, which you will see after you get those craft and structure questions, that is embodied with the main idea of text questions, so different than main purpose. Graph questions logically completes the text questions. And what best supports the claim questions. So these questions are more like where you're trying to find information in the text or in the graph. So that's kind of the difference. Okay, after that, you will see the standard English conventions next. Standard English conventions is basically your grammar questions. So they're gonna test you on punctuation marks, correct verb tenses, things of that nature, if commas need to go in certain spots or not. So like I said, that'd be around number 15 that you'll get those. And then lastly, you'll have your expression of ideas questions, which are transitions and note-taking questions. That falls in that category. Now, as far as all the types of questions and their proportions, I think it's really important for you to know that transition questions and standard English convention questions make up the majority of the modules. So it's gonna be imperative that you really work on your transition words and you really work on your standard English convention questions, because if you can get all of those right, that is a huge part of the modules. Make sure you understand, the different categories of transitions: support, contrast, causation, reinforcers, understand what they do, what types of words are in those categories. If you don't know much about transitions or you want to learn more, I have a really great digital SAT self-paced English course equipped with a workbook and exercises to walk you through transitions, and so you'll learn everything you need to know about that category. And of course, the course goes through all the other different types of questions as well and gives you very effective strategies for tackling each type of question. So if you're interested in signing up for that, you can use the promo 50 off at checkout and you will receive $50 off the course because you are a loyal YouTube follower and I appreciate you. Let me go ahead and put the link up here. Go check that out today. Okay, so now that you're familiar with the layout of the modules, it's important to understand more about the answer choices. Now, firstly, what is the purpose of the SAT English sections? Honestly, what College Board is testing you on is if you have the ability to take information in a text and link it to an answer choice that basically is saying the same thing as the text, but in a different way. So like 90% of these modules is all about finding synonyms in the answer choices to the text. Be very careful. If you end up seeing an answer choice that looks like it's saying the same exact thing as the text, don't pick it, because it's probably a trap answer where it's actually saying the opposite of what you need. So to give you an idea of like some synonym phrases, these are things I've seen on past SATs. There might be a text that talks about the Constitution, and then the answer choice will talk about as our fathers made it. Or in the text, it might talk about a good vantage point, and then the answer choice, it might say it's a great view. So you really do just want to be able to look for those synonyms. And this comes back to the importance of building your vocabulary, because if you can build your vocabulary, which in my course I go over really, really useful exercises and tips for doing that, this is going to help you be able to pinpoint the synonyms even in other questions that aren't words and context questions. So vocabulary is key to the whole English modules. Okay, so if the correct answer on the English modules is basically the text paraphrased in a different way, well then what kind of answer choices will they give you that are incorrect? For one, they're going to give you off-topic answer choices that are completely irrelevant. Oftentimes, I find that 2 out of the 4 answer choices are completely off topic, so those are easy to eliminate. Another thing that they might give you is an answer choice that's too broad. So for example, maybe the text is talking about one specific study, but then the answer choice mentions studies, like multiple. So you have to cross that off because it's not talking about many studies or studies in general. Okay, the third type of answer choice that is often wrong are ones that have absolute phrases and terms in them. So you want to avoid answer choices that say always, never, because those are rarely correct. We can't really say always or never in most circumstances, so you want to avoid those like the plague. These ones are tricky, but sometimes you might get an answer choice that could be true, but there's not enough information. So you might be making an inference or trying to basically fit a square peg into a round hole to make this right. These are definitely trap answers, and you have to be aware that they will do this to you. Okay, you might also get an answer choice that's true for the passage as a whole, but incorrect for the lines that they're asking about. So be careful with that. So for example, if you're on a function of an underlined sentence question, they might give you an answer that basically talks about the function of another sentence in the passage, but you need to make sure you're focused on that specific sentence. Lastly, and this kind of goes along with off topic, they might give you something that is factually true, but it's not mentioned in the passage. So just because an answer choice is true in the real world doesn't make it the correct answer based on what they're asking for. Do you guys find yourself stuck between two answer choices and you typically pick the wrong one? This is very common. So if this is happening to you, you're probably picking an answer that could be true but is not stated in the text, or it's half right, so it's all wrong. A lot of the times those trap answers, the first part of the answer choice is going to be correct. They want you to fall in love with that answer, and then some part of it towards the end is going to be wrong. So make sure you read the entire answer choice before making a selection. And if it could be true, but it's not stated in the text, make sure you go back into the text and look for the evidence to support that answer. And if you can't find it, then don't pick it. All right, guys, and this comes to one of the biggest tips I have for you in this video, and you might not like hearing this, and I'm so sorry. I have found, that working with lots of students on the digital SAT, that it is not to your advantage to try to cut corners. Yes, I know this is disappointing to hear. I have tried making strategies to help you guys not read that much and save time. And what I'm finding is 9 times out of 10, when a student cuts corners, they miss some key information, and then it ends up taking them more time because they have to go back into the text and reread. So my suggestion is, when you are on a passage or a text, and mind you, these texts are only 4 or 5 lines, it's going to be important most of the time to read the entire text and paraphrase it in your own words. So read a sentence, sum it up in your own words. Read the next sentence, sum it up in your own words. That'll keep you focused. That'll help deepen your understanding of the text, and that'll ensure you do not miss anything so that you can actually hone in on the right answer to the question. Now, there is one exception to this that I'm thinking of offhand, and sometimes with function of underlined sentence questions, you can cut some corners because all you might need to read is the sentence that's underlined to be able to answer the question. So this brings me into some general English module strategies that will help you on both Module 1 and Module 2. Okay, strategy number 1, always read the question first. So when you guys get to a question, before you start reading the text, make sure you read the question first. This is going to help you read the text actively so that you'll know what you need to look for, instead of reading it blindly and then going to the question and then potentially having to go back in and reread. So if you look at the question first, it's definitely going to save you some time. Strategy number 2, while reading the text, make sure you're summing it up in your own words. I know I just mentioned this a couple minutes ago, you guys, but you definitely want to make sure that you are summing up what the text says in your own words. Otherwise, you may be reading it on a superficial level where it's going to be easy to pick a trap answer. So read some of the text and stop and think, okay, what are they trying to say here? sum it up, and then move on. This will definitely help you get to the right answer instead of picking a wrong one. Strategy number 3, you're gonna wanna look for keywords and phrases in the text. Okay, well, what are some keywords in the text? One thing that you're gonna wanna look for are things that indicate points or claims or arguments. So you're gonna wanna look for words like asserts, believes, thinks, feels, anything like that that basically clues you in that, oh, this is where the main argument is, or, you know, this is what they're arguing basically. Super important, helps you find the main idea, so look for words like that. You also want to look for descriptive words, aka adjectives. If you can look at adjectives, it's really going to help you grasp the tone. So if you see dreary, gloomy, no cheer, like that sounds very negative, and that'll help you pinpoint an answer choice that will also match that tone. Okay, you also want to look for transition words because this denotes a shift or a change in the argument. So if you see a word like however, or nevertheless, or despite this, definitely hone in and zero in on that. That is an important sentence, and you want to make sure you understand what is going on with that shift. Okay, strategy number 4, you want to look for unusual punctuation marks. So if you see a colon or a semicolon or a hyphen somewhere in the text, then hone in on that because the correct answer is probably nearby. One specific type of question where this rings really true are words and context questions. Often right after a colon or a semicolon, you will see the definition to the word that you need to put in the blank. Strategy number 5, use process of elimination. So guys, like I said before, there are going to be 2 answer choices that are probably off topic. If you can weed out the irrelevant answer choices quickly, then you'll have it down to 2 and you can go back into the text and basically investigate which one is the correct one. Strategy number 6, start with your strongest type of question. If you got full bars on expression of ideas on your last test, you really should jump to the end of the module and start with transitions and note-taking questions. Play to your strengths, get those out of the way first because they should take you less time and you can pick up more points. And then obviously you should start to study and learn strategies to do your weaker ones. Strategy number 7, decide whether or not you want to hide the clock. This has been such a controversial thing that I brought up, and in previous videos I have said to you guys that you definitely should hide the clock. I'm actually going to backpedal on that. I actually think you should do what is best for you on that. If seeing the clock tick down gives you anxiety and then it takes your focus away from the test, you should hide the clock and only look at it every 5 to 10 questions. Set a limit. If you don't really notice the clock and it doesn't bother you at all, then leave it up. So that way you can just check it when you need to. But figure out what you're going to do with the clock now during your practices so that your game plan is ready going into the test. All right, guys, thanks so much for watching today. I hope that this video helped you. If it did, make sure to give it a thumbs up and go ahead and comment below and let me know what tip from this video you like the best and that you're going to apply right now. All right, guys, until next time, happy prepping.